Today I'm going to show you guys how to use manual focus on your Sony ZV-1 using some of the footage that I got the other day in my Ode to Rain video I put up on YouTube. The first thing that we're going to need is a little rain. So I set my camera up to 120 frames per second. I'm going to be using a gimbal. You can do this handheld, but the way to get the most stabilized 120 frames per second is to use a gimbal. The active stabilization is not available when you're using 120 frames per second. We're going to set up the Sony ZV-1's custom buttons so that you can have easy access to your manual focus. All right guys, to set up our custom buttons with manual focus, we're going to go to Menu. We're going to scroll over to tab 2, page 8. Go to Custom Key. I already have my autofocus, manual focus control toggle set to C2, which is right here. And then we're going to scroll to the right, and this is the top button right here, which is C1. And I already have that set to focus standard. The way that you search for what you want in one of these functions is you just click on it and then you scroll to the right or the left until you find focus standard. You click on it, and that's all you need to do. Now we have our custom button set and we're ready to shoot. Okay, so now that all of my exposure settings are set, I set my camera in front of the drip. I threw it up on a tripod to make it easier for you guys to see. I'm gonna go ahead and press record. I made sure that I'm on manual focus. Then I'm gonna come to focus standard, which is C1. Click on it, and I'm gonna start dragging it over until that drip comes into focus. Right about there. So that's how I got a punched in shot with manual focus on something that the autofocus just simply could not do. So the next shot we're gonna get is that flower shot. And the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna crank that focus standard all the way to the left. So once we have that set, now all we have to do is just move our camera back and forth until it's in focus. So let's go get this shot. So like I said, once you go full to the left, all you have to do is move the camera back and forth until you can get that perfect focus. And now we can slow it down in post. All right guys, let's go get the next shot. Looks like the weather cleared up. The next technique that I'm going to show you is a reveal shot using the manual exposure. The other day when I was out here, that flag was blowing in the wind, and then I saw this banana tree over here that has some cuts in its leaves, so I thought that that would make a good foreground. So the way that I accomplish this is I put my camera underneath the leaf, I turn it to autofocus, let it focus in on that flag, then I switch it over to manual focus, and I just pan it right across those leaves. That way it doesn't start to focus in on the leaf branches. The more that I use my manual focus over my autofocus, the more I realize how much more control I have over my camera. The more control you have over your camera, the more creative freedom you have. And that's ultimately the goal with all cameras and all videographers, is to be able to control every single feature in your camera so that you are in control of the camera's not controlling you. There's been a lot of times when I've been out trying to shoot something and my camera's focusing on something that I don't want it to focus on, and the thing that I want it to focus on is blurred out, and I get home and I can't even use the footage. That's why it's really important to practice with your manual focus so that you are at the helm when it comes to shooting with your camera. All right, ready? Another thing is if you want to use your active stabilization, you can always shoot in 60 frames per second and then just slow it down in post. It won't be as slow as 120, but it still works. So something to remember when you crank the focus all the way to the left is that you really just give yourself a very narrow focus field. So everything in the foreground is going to be blurry, the middle ground is going to be in focus, and then the background is going to be blurry. So the less cranked to the left you are, the more focus window you're going to have. So for this shot where we ascend out of the plant, I actually moved the focus standard to about medium because I wanted to have a bigger focus window. So I want to make sure that this leaf is kind of centered in the display as I pull out. So a lot of times when I turn on focus standard, the little bar is all the way to the right, and it takes a long time to turn the control wheel all the way to the left if I'm looking for like a macro shot or I want to get in focus. So a little hack to get around that is to just put something in front of the camera really close while your camera's in autofocus, turn it to manual focus. Then when you go to focus standard, it's gonna be pretty close to the left-hand side, and then you just have to do very minimum turning of the control wheel. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Joe with PotterMade. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Joe with PotterMade, and let's grow as we go.